Generous Georgia by Isabelle Portch. Chapter 1. Introduction. A Dog Called Georgia. Once upon a time, there lived a dog called Georgia. She was very generous, so she thought of herself as Generous Georgia. Generous Georgia lives with a lovely family with a kind and thoughtful girl called Isabelle, her very trustworthy mummy called Anna, and a very brave and kind daddy called Nick. They all look after Georgia very well. Georgia lives in their garden, where the birds hum their songs and flowers bloom all around. Georgia is actually a superdog. She is the same size as a guide dog and is black with a ginger belly, chin and paws. She helps people in need, but does not let her family know this. She also pretends to be a dog that jumps up, so they think she'll break things in the house. This is a trick and means her fabulous family put her in the garden to live, which enables her to do missions without them knowing. Chapter 2. What Happened on Sunday Night. One cold, breezy night. It was 4:30 p.m., and Isabelle, her mummy and daddy were watching the Britain's Got Talent semi-finals, and Generous Georgia was having a peaceful rest in her snugly, warm and relaxing kennel. Georgia was listening out for trouble, but no sound came. Then suddenly, flash, crash, lightning and thunder. Generous Georgia had been afraid this would happen. However, she had been prepared and span around to get her cape on, because she could only fly with it on. Luckily, she always had her mega hearing, with or without her cape on. Bang! Flash! More thunder and lightning came. Generous Georgia knew what to do. She flew high up into the clouds, and that was much better because she was above the storm. The sun was so bright, people would think that the sky was red because the sun was burning it. Generous Georgia sat on a cloud, and after about 10 minutes had passed, Georgia was fast asleep. But just then, there was a very loud bang. And knowing Generous Georgia has mega hearing, it was amazingly loud for her. Generous Georgia woke up with a jump. After that, the storm had gone, and she was able to go back to the ground. In a few minutes' time, when Georgia was in her kennel and her cape had disappeared, she was about to nod off, when suddenly there was a scream saying, "Help! Somebody! Anybody help me!" in a very worried voice. Generous Georgia span around, and her dazzling pink cape came on bit by bit, with purple lining and a yellow GG on it, which stood for Generous Georgia. Generous Georgia was on her way. Chapter 3. Generous Georgia's Mission. When Georgia reached the distressed voice, she saw an old woman, about 76 years old, who had lovely grey hair, a long skirt, and was also wearing a big woolly jumper with lovely patterns. Generous Georgia hovered in the air and said, "Hello, I am Generous Georgia. What is your name?" "My name is Maureen," she said in a rush. "What happened?" asked Generous Georgia, noticing that Maureen was clutching her ankle and groaning. "I was wearing some of my new shoes, and they were too big for me, and they fell off, and I tripped over them and hurt my ankle. As you can see, my shopping has tipped all over the road on the zebra crossing, and the light is turning amber, so we need to be quick." The zebra crossing was right outside the shop, and the mess was awful. There was spilt milk, cracked eggs, squashed bread, and bruised apples. It was everywhere. What could Georgia do? Chapter 4. What Georgia Did. "Are you okay?" Georgia said, lifting Maureen up. "My ankle hurts a bit, but nothing else, thankfully." Georgia took Maureen home and said, "Please, can I borrow your wheelie bin?" Maureen replied, saying, "Yes." Georgia got an ice pack, put it around Maureen's ankle, flew outside, grabbed the wheelie bin and took it to the zebra crossing. By the time she got back to the zebra crossing, the traffic was moving. Georgia pressed the button on the traffic light and the traffic stopped. Georgia collected up all the shopping and put it in the bin. As for the spilt milk and the cracked eggs, well, Georgia span around and around until there was a mini tornado, and all of the spilt milk, cracked eggs, and other items went whirling into the tornado. Georgia brought the tornado to the bin, and everything was clean and tidy again, and safely in the bin. What a relief! Chapter 5. The End of Georgia's Adventure. After collecting the shopping, Georgia noticed that the light had just turned green. She flew into the shop with the bin and the unbroken food and told the shopkeeper, Joan, everything that had happened to poor Maureen. Joan understood at once. Joan got her replacements for the broken shopping and also got one of their best cakes and gave it to Georgia. "What's the yummy-looking cake for?" asked Georgia. Joan replied saying, "It's a present for Maureen to say we hope she is okay." Georgia thought that was very kind of her. Georgia said goodbye, flew out of the doors and back to Maureen's house. She put the bin back and went into Maureen's house to see if she had recovered. "Are you okay?" asked Georgia. Maureen replied saying, "Yes, I'm fine, thank you." Georgia told Maureen what she did and how Joan gave her the cake. "How kind of her," Maureen said gratefully. From then onwards, Georgia got Maureen's shopping every week. Georgia flew home and arrived at about 7 p.m. just in time for tea. She had a lovely bone for dinner. What an adventure! But now it's time for Georgia to go to bed, so let's leave her to sleep. The end.